Hi, and welcome back to another one of my reviews. Before, I reviewed The Lost Village and compared it to the 2011 and 2013 Smurfs movies. Now, I would like to solely talk about the Smurfs movies from 2011 alone. I will admit, it has its problems. It's got plot points that don't go anywhere. The animation at times can be a little unrealistic, but I think that's more because it was made for 3D, and 3D tends to not look that impressive. It has changes. It rips off other films, talks about modern nostalgia, and has Sony product placement. And I will admit, The Lost Village is gorgeous, doesn't have as many pop culture references, has a great cast, but so did the other 2011 cast, I will admit. Stays truer to the Smurfs, and is a better Smurfs movie than this one. So, why don't I like it as much as these two? Well, I'm going to talk a little bit about why. One, I like the new characterization of Clumsy. Clumsy Smurf was basically used probably because they couldn't use Dopey Smurf from the comics. Clumsy in this seems a little bit more fleshed out with a more different personality that I like. Hank Azaria as Gargamel definitely is a plus. He's incredible as Gargamel in this. Whether you like the movie or hate the movie, you have to admit he does a decent job as Gargamel. I like Katy Perry's kick-butt Smurfette. I like the casting. I do like the animation, I will admit. I like the fact that they went live action, trying new things, like go to New York in the modern day, which is where the modern day pop culture references and technology would make sense. I'm not that off-put by the fact that the Smurfs have Wi-Fi. I mean, they have segways and time machines and robots in the other ones. This also represents a little bit more my brand of humor. I was always a Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network fan more growing up. I like the drama in here. I will admit that. The drama between the Smurfs and Patrick, and also Patrick with his relationships, I have to admit I like that. They also have some slower moments that really get you to have an emotional feeling every now and then. I also will admit the Christmas one and the Halloween one do kind of help with the world building. That's another thing. I think really at times the sequel did some things better than the first one. I think it was a nice blend of the Hanna-Barbera cartoon and the original comics. It's also just refreshing to see a fun movie that can just be all-out fun. No agenda, no woke politics, just a fun movie with a fun story. I also like the fact that they expanded on Grouchy's character a little bit more than him just saying I hate all the time. I get and know that's his motivation and point, but it was nice to see a little bit more to him than just saying I hate all the time, and fun to see that he said that he's grouchy because he's afraid to be vulnerable and uses it as a wall. Some of the problems I do have are I wish that they had shown more time with Kate and Smurfette and the Smurfs with Patrick and Kate in general. And other than a few things, I think this is a pretty decent Smurf film. I also think it was funny when the Smurfs were shredding on Guitar Hero to rock this way. I also like it doesn't do what a lot of other films do, try to reboot it too much, so it gives you a complete backstory as to who the Smurfs are, which we basically should already know going into it, or did know going into it anyway. Or at least have known about it probably from the cartoon and our parents. I also am glad that they didn't stay in the village more because we've seen that. The movie really gives you an opportunity to expand, and I think they did nicely on that. They got to go into a bizarre new world. Well, at least they did what they could. They went into a bizarre new world full of scary things to them, modern technology, which was fun, or not scary to them. And they were curious as to what this new technology is. Now, I will admit, copying the other movies, the plot points that go nowhere, the more fast-pacedness it feels, the not enough time with Patrick and Grace, and the Smurfs, and a little bit of the animation on the eyes is a little bit off-putting. But as a whole, I think it's got a better, or at least a non-woke atmosphere. It's got a few things that I like better, and also that feel more represent me. That's probably why I like it, and it's what I think introduced me to the Smurfs when I was about 16. I thought it was fun. And look, I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, but I do think that these films probably do deserve a little bit more credit. Or at least the first one in the Christmas and Halloween special. And I do think Hackus and Vexy were nice additions that they added. Hackus was a comical character that was know nothing. Vexy was a nice new girl addition that wasn't girly girl like Smurfette. It was a nice change. Had they been allowed to more expand on the characters, like in more spin-offs and a cartoon maybe, I feel like that they would have been probably more well received. And probably would have done better. That's just my opinion. And like it or hate it, these are my opinions. I at least think they're more fun. It feels like a parody movie, but at the same time doesn't. It feels like they tried to do original things with the characters. So, maybe you should give it another chance and look at it in a different light. And if you're tired of woke content, maybe you should go back and take a look at these. I'm not saying they're anywhere near perfect films, but they're at least entertaining films. Maybe you should go back and take a look at it. Because to me, I'm gonna stick with these more than the Lost Village. This is Buzzy Jones reviewing the Smurfs, and have a good day. Sorry I did bring up the Lost Village a little bit.